back on another exciting. Wow, that was quick, Braxton. That was very good. we're back on another exciting episode of Starfleet Boy, where we have a casual and informal conversation about Star Trek. Today we are focused on Star Trek Picard, Season 2, Episode 8, Mercy. Have mercy. Have mercy on this episode of Star Trek Picard. No, I love this episode. Hi guys, welcome back. We have Braxton, we have Ian, and we have Marcelo in the house. How are you guys doing?
Doing all right.
Sunday greetings. Good.
And for those of you who were hoping, we're gonna have a slight chance of Earl Grey Trekkie. We don't know if he'll make it. We accidentally left him in the 25th century, so he has to time travel on his own to get to 2024 to be with us. But we'll see.
Oh, just hop in the TARDIS. He'll be fine.
Oh, that's true. He does have a TARDIS. That's true. He'll totally hop over. But yeah, so there's a slight chance.
I'm not going to say too much. There you go.
Oh, look at that. That's super cool.
and there you go. It even.
Yay. We already got some folks in the audience.
Sweet,
We got the two blues here. Hi guys. We have Joel here, and we have someone
Michael.
new, I think, called Michael. And Michael says the name of the episode is perfect. I kept pleading for mercy when it came to the writing. Oh, that's a shame. Too bad. Hopefully, this episode of Starfleet Boy will raise your esteem. But I don't know. Actually, I don't know what the whole panel thinks. So maybe some of our. Oh, I kind of know what Marcelo thinks.
The face says it all.
Why don't you go first, Ian, and tell us your overall thoughts about this episode of. Oh, by the way, I don't have my slideshow today, audience, because I accidentally deleted it, and I accidentally deleted the tweet initially. I'm in a accidental deleting mode, so I'll just kind of randomly put up some screenshots here and there, but it won't be the usual presentation that you guys are used to, and I apologize for that. But go ahead, Ian.
All I'll say is it's lucky you weren't backstage, because he was swearing like a trooper. He really was. He was awful. He was swearing left, right, and centre.
I was. It's true.
Hey, Jill. By the way,
Hey,
there's good elements in it. I did it, but it just felt a bit of a filler episode. I think the whole bit with Wells seemed to, I don't know, it drag out a little bit. I don't know whether they're trying to say that's Carbon Creek. He'd have to be quite old if that was Carbon Creek. So I'm presuming that they came back to Earth between the 50s and maybe the 60s. I'm not quite sure, but I just felt this seemed to be a little bit protracted, the whole Wells thing. But I did like the Rafi 7 bit. That I enjoyed that. The obviously seeing Jurati more as the Queen, I enjoyed, and actually, the bit on board La Serena as well. All those elements were fine. It just seemed the interrogation bit just seemed to be dragged out a little bit too much.
The going consensus about the Vulcans is that I think in Carbon Creek they mentioned that another research party is going to come in 20 years. So it's assumed that these two Vulcans are part of that research team. So Mestral's still hanging out. He's probably in Tibet at this point in the 70s. Maybe he's having his 7 years in Tibet or something like that. But we didn't see the return of that character, which a lot of folks were speculating. I think because the actor who they got to play the male Vulcan in this episode, in those quick glimpses that we saw, resembled enough what Mestral might look like 20 years later or something like that. So that's where I think fan speculation went wild. So actually it was still a nice callback to Carbon Creek. It just wasn't the callback that everyone was
they named the dog after the woman that worked in the bar in Carbon Creek. So that was quite a good callback, Easter egg, if you want to call it.
Right.
But I'm sorry, but Wells is way older than me. And obviously, I can't see that being the 70s. It has to be the 60s.
The
Has to be the
scene.
60s.
You think that Wells is older than you just because he has white hair?
Well, I've got white hair, but I know he's older than me. I know he's older than me. But
They
gee
don't say his
whiz.
age. They don't say his age.
No,
though.
yeah,
They're saying
but the actor himself,
Yeah,
the
actor
himself is quite
Hey, I just
significantly
want
a
to
bit
point
older
out
than
that
me.
Captain Kirk is 39. The actor they got to portray Captain Kirk is 39, and he's going to be playing him maybe in his late 20s because he's 32 when he becomes captain. So the Strange New Worlds Captain Kirk is much older than he's playing him. So I think that happens all the time. It happens
Yeah.
less and less, but like you used to see like TV shows where you had high school students played by 30-year-olds, and it's like,
Yeah.
really, guys?
There is no way that you could pass that actor off in his 40s, early 50s. Just no way. That's all I'm going to say. The one who played Wells, there's no way you could pass him off as younger than he actually is. I'm sorry.
I think someone who was probably like 10, let's just say, in the 70s, what would they be like 50 now, right? Like 53, 54, around that age?
I'm not saying a word.
I mean, but some people just age a little faster. That actor does look to be about 60 to me, but
Really? Okay.
it's okay. Like I can go with it. Like give the dude a job.
I gotcha. But yeah, I get you. Marcelo, what did you think of this episode?
I think, well, to put it nicely, if this episode was taken out of this season, I don't think we would have missed a damn thing. I think I think this episode is a giant waste of time, right? They introduced the Renee thing a couple episodes ago, right? So by my estimation, I believe that if Renee is so important, we should be following Renee while she's preparing for her launch, right? I think that all the stuff with Brent Spiner and Issa Briones, as much as I like them to as actors and as individuals, I think that was a big giant misfire. And everything with that, I have no idea where it's going. Everything that I speculated about a prison break last week didn't happen. The whole conversation with Picard and this FBI guy was useless. Like, what impact will that have on this story moving forward? Nothing. It meant nothing.
I'm so glad that I'm not I'm so glad that you guys seem to be like all about like essentialism in storytelling, and I'm all about like let's go off on another direction and find out more about characters. But anyways, carry on.
So I personally look. I don't begrudge anyone who enjoys this episode or has enjoyed the second half of Picard, which I have not, because all entertainment is subjective. We all see different things when we look at things. But for me personally, I think the second half of the season has been a giant misfire, and it really has a humongous problem with the lack of direction. I have no idea where we're going, what we're doing, and I seriously have no idea.
What if that's the intention? What if they don't want you to know where it's going? Like, what if that's actually what the show is hoping to do?
Look, that's completely fine. But for me personally, I would have preferred Akiva Goldsman to drop some hats on the ground to give me some idea of narrative storytelling. For me personally, that's just me, personally. So if he drops some hats at the ground to give me an idea of where he's going, just a small pinch of an idea.
I hope to give you some ideas that I've written down here today. I'll give you some ideas that you might like.
I would have preferred that, but look, I mean, for me, it's hard to say this because for those of you who have been around our programming for a while, you know that I'm a big fan of the creative mind behind Picard and all the other shows, but I think that this season, for a large part of it, has been a big disappointment for me. The one positive thing that I will say about this episode is I liked the Rafi and Seven stuff, and I won't even touch on the Rios and Teresa stuff because I think that crap needs to be thrown out with the bathwater. I'll just leave it there.
Very cool. Hey, Robbie, you made it. Thank you. Why don't you go next? We're just telling our kind of our opening thoughts about the episode, about this episode in particular.
I thought it was a very good episode. I liked the talk about trauma from Picard and Guinan, and I think I'm sorry I can't pronounce her name, but the actress who plays Guinan
I
is
think it's Ito Aguirre is the way I'm hearing it, but I'm not sure 100%. I have to
she's
go back and look.
she's absolutely fantastic. She's really nailed that raspy voice and that wise tone that Guinan has, and I really hope that she's in Picard season 3 because she really owns the role and she's so entertaining to watch. I think this episode could have been really boring because Picard is in the FBI kind of basement, but the conversation felt very classic Trek to me, and the fact there was more discussions, and there wasn't too much action. So I thought this was a pretty good episode, although I really disliked all of the Soong stuff. I think that it feels like we've seen that all before in different iterations, and it doesn't feel very original or very interesting to me.
Right on. Braxton, you gave us a little bit of your thoughts on the space, but I don't want to piss off our audience, so please reiterate. And last time Marcelo gave all his thoughts on space, so you don't have to hear him. so now you do that again. But so Braxton, if you would kindly re-grace us with your thoughts, or maybe they've changed like mine have since the space. I've evolved my opinion a little bit from that initial viewing. So.
My thoughts are close to Robbie's. I thought that this was a good episode. Like I thought this was like a good building onto our story. Like I feel like we had like four interesting things that happened. I enjoyed the conversation between Seven and Rafi. I thought it was like really impactful. When Seven was like, "Oh yeah, like I haven't like been able to have like fulfilling relationships like since I left the collective, like that like level of connection that I had, like I just can't have that anymore. Like I thought that was like really interesting. Like I like the scene when she like fell back against the fence because she was like emotionally overcome. You know, um, then I enjoyed the scene when she accused Rafi of being manipulative, and then it showed Rafi talking to Elnor, and I don't know if that's manipulative. I mean, she loves him and she wants him to be with her. I mean, I don't know if that's manipulative. I mean, whatever. Um,
I think it is but we can understand because I think we've all been in that situation at one point or another where we kind of impose our like right now like I'm like trying to be manipulative with Marcelo and see if I could get him to like this episode, and like I shouldn't do that,
I love you. I love you, but that will never happen.
So I think that she is doing it, and that yeah, I do think it is manipulation, but I think we all sometimes manipulation is essential, like when it like some jobs like what she does, security, like her particular field probably involves like a lot of covertness, a lot of manipulation, and so it serves her really well there. It's just that maybe she is crossing the line a little bit and using those skills a little too much, when with her personal affairs.
I also loved seeing Ganon's powers. Like I thought the scene where her and Q were talking was really interesting. Like it's like, oh yeah, we got to see that like her like spell with the genie bottle did actually work. He just had to like take the train and then like a bus and then like sneak into HQ. Like, so it did work. It just took him a while to get there. I thought that was interesting. And then we also see that now, Girardi / Boar Queen is now has an army.
She can
Um,
assimilate now.
And I, did
You guys
think
better watch out. She's coming.
I thought the
Nightmare
smooch,
fuel. Sorry.
I thought the smooch between Rios and Dr. Teresa was sweet, but I absolutely hate that he took her on the ship. I just hate that. Just like, ooh, butterflies, butterflies, butterflies. Who gives a damn about butterflies?
Well, to be honest, I think it plays like it's romantic, but as soon as he beamed her aboard, she didn't take to it too badly, but she could have had a panic attack. She could have, um, had some kind of felt really threatened or go into some mental disarray. He's lucky that she was just like, okay, this isn't too bad. But it could be seen as kidnapping.
Mm.
Oh my gosh.
Ooh, wow, I never thought of that,
I
right?
never,
Wow.
yeah, now I have to. Thanks,
Wow.
Robbie.
He,
Wow,
he
so
kidnapped a woman and her child. Wow.
there's a ton of comments already in the live chat. Thank you, audience. We love that you guys present us with questions and stuff like that. So let me see if I can sort through here. By the way, Michael was saying just having a chuckle, not trying to hate on anyone that enjoys season 2. Personally, I think it makes TOS's Spock's brain look like a masterpiece. Oh my goodness, that's like. I actually think I like Spock's brain a little bit. I don't remember what I gave it. What do you?
Nothing's
Ian,
no.
did I give it?
Spock's.
Did I
Well,
give
you
it a
always
high
give
rating? Did I give it?
Oh,
like
you
an eight,
always give it a
an
high
eight?
rating. You gave it a fairly high rating, but I don't. I don't think anything. Well, I don't know. Maybe some of TNG would fall down with Spock's brain, but not
I
this
don't. I
bit.
wouldn't put it as bad as Spock's brain. I like we need emojis for Guinan's anti-Q hand gestures. I agree with that as well. And then let's see here. So Wells is around Jill's saying by her math that Wells is around 57. I could buy it. I see him as a 57-year-old. I could see
He's
it.
actually the actor's 60. He was
60,
born in
so yeah.
63, so he's 60.
That's cool. Ruben's here. Nice to see you, Ruben. I think this episode is setting up a lot to come. We have all the questions being asked here, and the following episodes will answer. Yeah, I agree with that as well. It's like that's part of the thing about watching serialized television week to week is that it's kind of hard to like. For me personally, it's kind of hard to like. Keep my anticipation in check and like my theory crafting mind and like all the kind of like what Marcelo was kind of saying, like how he tries to figure out like we're all trying to sleuth out what's happening, and I think that this show's not giving us much, which is which is could be frustrating. I could see that.
I think you can safely say the whole Jurati thing is setting up really, really nicely. The Rafi and Seven is setting up quite nicely, but I'm not too sure about the Rios Picard thing. I'm not quite getting it.
You mean
There's
Rios,
sort of elements of the
Rios and Dr. Teresa, you mean, right? Or
yeah,
do you mean,
no, that Rios. You've got the 4 silos. You've got the Jurati bit. You've got Seven and Rafi. You've got Picard. You've got Rios and Teresa. So there's 4 elements. 2 of those are really set up nicely. The other 2 I'm really not too sure about.
We got a question from Michael. How does a powerless Q infiltrate the Star astronauts' psychiatric sessions and the FBI? Dude is walking everywhere. Is he renting out office space? Why isn't Wells like, dude, who are you? I think with Q, the way that I like to say, I don't know if the show is going to ever do one of those like, how did he get all those things accomplished? So like in my imagination, Q is just so insanely smart that he's able to like pretty much will. He uses his sheer will. He's like, I don't care. I'll just like it took him like hours later to come, to the FBI, but he still came. I think he still has a sense of, like in the episode where he loses his power in TNG, he still is able to say things like, oh, just change the gravitational constant of the universe. Like it's nothing. That's how he still perceives the universe. He just can't, snap and make it so, anymore. So
I did that bit with him and Guinan saying, I'm trying to disintegrate you right now, but it's not working. I did that bit I did enjoy. But
really
I'm
good,
agree. He's insanely intelligent. he proves that he can deal with all the computer hacking, because obviously in Sung's computer he plants the virus of himself in there. So there are elements for that. This bit here, where obviously where he's planted himself into the virus of the program. So you can see it from there that he still has transferable skills, even though he can't just click his fingers and disappear or appear. There are still elements of him that are showing in this.
To Earl Grey Trekkie's point, I actually caught on to this whole idea of like, and again, I don't know, it seemed I found a way for it to work for me, but there's so much like parallel in not just the story, but even just like the situation, everything between Corey and Soji. Like, they're both artificially or synthetically created. Both of them don't know anything, Corey has memories of growing up with Soong, but Soong's been lying to her and telling her that, about her mother who never existed. And it's so awful in that one scene where he's like, well, you like those stories, so I kept telling them. and then Soji similarly has a like a holographic mother that doesn't really exist. Both characters realize who they are with the opening of a box, kind of, so this like little box imagery, in Soji's case, the poison being released as radiation. In this case, it's a magic bullet that actually ends up saving her, so it's a little bit different. But just there's a lot of like paralleling elements. I think there's so many that it's on purpose, and I think they're trying to like just kind of like go. There's this thing that I feel like the Soongs in general are all about, like kind of like evolving the same pattern over and over, like sort of like putting a new spin on the same pattern. So I think this just, to me, it fits really well with what we've seen of Soongs and their offspring before. What did you guys think?
Even the soldiers showing up towards the end of the episode reminded me of the augments, and
I think that's intentional too.
I know, but it's just so much of this season has been harkening back, and I've loved it because it's felt maybe sometimes a bit on the nose, but it has felt a bit different and a bit new, and there's had some kind of new dimension, whether it's a new actress playing the Borg Queen or just the way they've meshed storylines together has felt unique. But I have never been a huge fan of Brent Spiner's acting outside of Data in his Star Trek roles. I'm not a huge fan of him in Star Trek Enterprise. I think the Augment story is interesting, but he feels very cheesy and very kind of cartoony and like similar to how he acted as Soongs before, too much for me to enjoy it. And then it feels like he could be just the way he acts, like this Soong is basically just like who was it? The Soong in Enterprise, I forget his name. It feels just like that same kind of character almost. And also with the whole Soji thing and that storyline basically being so similar, it just really doesn't work well for me. And it's not just that the storyline feels similar, it's that it isn't particularly interesting, it isn't acted particularly amazingly, and I don't want to put down the actors because they're not being given very interesting writing for this storyline, which is a shame because I feel like the rest of the episode was pretty good, Do
you think they're trying too hard, Robbie, to put these bits back to the other previous episodes of Star Trek? Do you think the writers are trying too hard?
I think, and I could be completely wrong, I think Terry Matalas, since he had to do season 3, I think he gave Akiva Goldsman a whole load of notes of...
That's exactly what he did.
Yeah, of what I want to happen.
How do you guys know that? Is that like in an
That's
article?
exactly what he did.
It feels
Is that
very...
in an article or something? Like, just I want to confirm.
I'm not gonna fall on my sword again, but just look it up, because for some unconscionable reason, right in the middle of Star Trek Picard season 2, they did this announcement trailer for season 3 saying the whole TNG cast is going to come back. So I'm not saying I'm right or wrong, but what if, just go with me for a second, what if Terry Matalas said, oh, since we're going to bring back all the people I like, why don't I just give Akiva all these notes about where I potentially want to go and just have you do the second half of the season, and I will go and work on the last 10 episodes of Picard ever. Now, as a showrunner, that to me is the most egregious, inappropriate thing that you can do. You got hired to do season 2, and you're telling me that you want to pass off your cliff notes to one of the other star producers and say, here, finish what I started? You don't do that as a professional. You do not do that. That is completely unprofessional and completely unnecessary. So I don't blame Akiva Goldsman for everything. I blame the guy who I thought was going to make me love
Marcelo,
Star Trek Picard season 2.
Because I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but like I've never like, how do you have that insight into the workings? Like, how do you know what Terry Matalas's involvement was, or is this just something you think is happening based on what you've seen?
I read it. I read it. I think it was on a Trek movie.
Okay. Well, let's govern our passions a little until we find out for sure. Like, I mean, I think they were pretty transparent about how they in season 1. Like, I think a lot of people have like maybe fears or like speculation about this because of like in season 1, you know, like a lot of folks say that like they were just kind of like, and it's documented. I guess the producers came out and said they were flying a little bit by the seat of their pants. But I'd rather not get mad at anything, because to me, you know, the season hasn't been inconsistent in its tone. Like, yeah, that first first episode was like, wow. But I think that was I think that was like the intention. And I think that like when we see the last 2 episodes, that's when we'll truly be able to like cast judgment and say if it was like a failure or a success. I do think that like it's fair that you don't like this episode and that it's not working for you, and maybe the second half of the season is not, but I don't think it's fair yet to fully just say, yeah, this is what happened with Terry Matalas. Just me personally, like I think we have to wait and see what the story is on that. But I see how you could think that would be the case, and I could see how you could get mad about it. If someone's running a show, they should run a show. I get what you're saying, like if that is the case. But my instinct tells me that that's not the case here, but that's just me.
I feel like that's the case, to be honest, because I don't think it's a coincidence that Terry Matalas is going for a TNG reunion in season 3, and that season 2 is suddenly very much more so than season 1, completely different. I think that's definitely Terry Matalas, because it feels like he has left notes, or maybe he's just discussed it with Akiva what he wants, but he's known that he can't actually do the season because he wants season 3 to be it's the last season. He wants it to be this perfect send-off, and I think that's fair. I know you might disagree, Marcel, and I respect that, but I think season 3 is more important than season 2, just because it's the last season, and it's not that season 2 should be bad, and I don't think season 2 has been bad, but I do think it does feel like someone has been given ideas and has kind of strung them together, but has maybe not strung them up in the best way possible. It's still a great season, and it's still a huge improvement of season 1 for me, and I've still really, really enjoyed this season. But I think certain things like Sung are just my dislike of, or my boredom of, that kind of storyline in all of Star Trek, not just the storyline being put here. Like, it could have been in Lower Decks or anything, and I would dislike it, because I'm sick of the Sungs, you know. Even when we heard Sung in season 3, and I'm so happy that we're having that reunion. And it would be unfair to not have Brent in it, but still, I'm completely sick of Soongs now, and it's nothing personal, and I just don't think Brent Spiner, as much as he's a wonderful guy and wonderful part of Star Trek, I don't think he has a huge range as an actor, and it doesn't irritate me to see him again portraying a very similar role, but it just feels like I've already seen this, or I've already seen something very similar, so I don't want to kind of tread old ground, but other people will love it, you know? And I don't
this
think...
is the Adam Soong, so this is the very first time, technically, in the timeline that we see a Soong like this, and they seem to get better as they
well, they're all arrogant. They're all very arrogant people.
They seem to get nicer. Real quick before we move on from Soong, so we have had dealings with Soong and Q. That Soong seemed to have botched that up. Q wanted him to kill Picard, he couldn't do it. So now Q seems to be going directly to Corey, and he seems to have given her the cure to set her free. So there's that, so there's something going on there. How is Corey gonna play into this? That's a question that I have, and I'd be curious to hear what your thoughts are. But then we also have now the Borg Queen has now come to Soong, and so now she's trying to get him to forget about the daughter and think more. She says, like, well, you don't have a daughter, you lose a daughter, but you become the godfather of so many, or something like that, she says, right? So she's trying to convince him to forget about the daughter and focus more on giving people a way out of this ecological or environmental disaster that she sees coming, right? Like, so, the shield in particular is going to be his solution. So rather than, like, doing the hard work and healing the earth and stopping our emissions, he's like, oh, you guys don't have to do anything, we're gonna have the shield keep polluting. Let's go gung-ho on this thing. Renee Picard is supposed to bring back some, if her mission is successful, she brings back these microbes or something, which apparently render Soong's work obsolete. I don't know how that would occur, but apparently that's what happens with that. So she's trying to stop both Renee Picard, get Soong to, she calls it like a fork or whatever. So now we have that. So Soong seems to be very important in terms of bringing about the Confederation future, and it looks like now the Borg Queen wants that future, which I think is very interesting, because before, like, what do you guys think? Because before, she would want the future where the Borg at least are still around, right? You would think. But if she's trying to bring about the Confederation future, that means she's okay with herself ending.
I think that she is a seductress, and she's manipulating him.
Yeah.
And then she is gonna at some point stab him in the back once she, like, puts the pieces into place. Like, the Borg Queen is like 8 steps ahead of, like, everyone else.
True.
Yeah. She knows the Federation, she knows the Confederation. She's pandering to his
ego.
To his ego, he's pandering to his ego. So she's talking about, because obviously there was the song bit and everything in the Confederation. She's using him to assimilate the world. That's what she's pushing for. She's pushing for a Borg world. That's where that's going. It's not to bring the Confederation. There are things that he has access to, she needs. So by stroking his ego, he's just going to pander to her. And once she's got everything, and she's got all the nanites and everything, she's just going to want to... It's going to be a Borg world. That's what she's going for. So it's sort of a little bit like First Contact, where she wants to get that bit, but she's doing it a little bit earlier.
The only other explanation I could think of is that maybe Agnes is still kind of fighting somewhere in there. But then that doesn't make much sense, because Agnes would become the Borg Queen and would be in pain as a result, just like the Borg Queen. But it makes a lot of sense, because the Borg Queen probably wants to be a part of that sweet collective that gives the endorphins to her and makes her feel happy. I will say
Well,
about
she gives endorphins out to others
oh,
and makes
okay.
them feel happy. But regardless, I think of the Borg Queen as like a kind of like she brainwashes you through chemicals. Like other people do it through their words, but she does it through like she like makes you feel so good that you're not willing to fight, her. But she's not in her full power. I think that's something that a lot of people keep complaining about. Like, why isn't the Borg Queen this or why isn't the Borg Queen that? I think it's easy to forget because she's so, because of what we've seen before, and also she's still quite like just like Hugh, even diminished. She's still quite formidable, but she can't assimilate you as instantly as say that we've seen before, like in Star Trek First Contact or even perhaps in Voyager. It takes a longer period of time. You do have resistance. Like it seems like consciousnesses are layered on top of each other. It's not like a full assimilation. So Girardi does seem to have moments just like when she's choking Rafi. In that moment, Girardi is able to like exert her will enough to override the Borg Queen, and the Borg Queen just kind of is frustrated, shakes it off, and like walks away. She's like, well, they're not important to me anyways. I don't care if I kill her or not. Like I need to go focus on, whatever her mission is. So she walks away. But I think we're going to see a lot more of that in the next episode. I think we're going to see a lot more of Girardi's resistance. And, Girardi's already impressed the Borg Queen because even though the Borg Queen is, as you say, 8 steps ahead, it seems Girardi's a really good algorithmist. And she's got her own. I hope Amy Nelson heard that. And so I don't know if that's like a thing, but she's got her own tricks up her sleeve, and I think she's able to confound the Borg Queen like no one else has. And I guess again, it's probably because the Borg Queen is diminished and all that. But I really like it. I think that again, I think it's perhaps perhaps there are too many plates spinning right now, and like even though they're stacking the plates, maybe it's like it's hard to keep track of all these things. Not everyone watches these episodes like 6 times like I do, where you're like like and no one should have to. I feel like you should really I feel if I'm gonna give a criticism is like you should never have to watch an episode more than once. Like you should be able to get, but that being said, I enjoy that there's so many layers because I love picking all these things apart and stuff like that. So, to each their own on that one.
I am hoping that you're going to see a little bit more of that Jurati Borg Queen conflict, because you've only seen dribs and drabs for the last 2 episodes. I'd like to see for the last 2 episodes that internal conflict. I don't know how you can portray that, but it would be good to sort of see that conflict between, as I said, between Jurati and the Queen.
I think
Right.
it's really great that Jurati is going to, as Ian was saying, hopefully have that conflict, because not that this season has to make any amends for season 1, but I feel like Jurati having this kind of moral confrontation with the Borg Queen over what's right is a really interesting place to take her after what happened in season 1, because even though she wasn't really in control with season 1, she was kind of those kind of orders, that kind of mental state was placed upon her by Commodore O. But now, and maybe she feels a bit guilty about that, she's going to kind of stop the Borg Queen and navigate these waters. And obviously she must have a very strong kind of mental state to be able to even fight the Borg Queen at all. So it's a really great storyline for her that I never saw coming, and I think is really highlighting Alison Pill and I've forgotten the name of, what's her name again?
Annie Wershing, who plays
She
the
is
Borg
so
Queen, yeah.
superb as the Borg Queen, It's highlighting their acting skills fantastically. Every Borg Queen and Jurati scene has been just superb. It's felt like theater in a kind of TNG style, where there's just 2 actors facing against each other, and it's just beautiful interplay between them. And I think I was a bit disappointed that Q, and it could happen in later episodes, but I was a bit disappointed that we didn't see more of a scared Q. The fact that he is going to, die, presumably. I think that would be a very, very good opportunity to show a weakness in the character and actually show this mighty, wise, full of himself character be a little scared, and have a new dimension to him. But we might still see that going forwards, and obviously he did seem very concerned. Yeah.
Very cool. There's a few people in the audience that don't know Corey's name. The character Issa Briones is playing is not called Not So G. They're called Corey, Kore. So just FYI. But someone's pointing out, like, who is it? Let's see. Michael Strathmore's pointing out how she's walking around barefoot, has no idea, no anything. Where's she gonna go? How's she gonna call the police? I think she has a phone, if I'm not mistaken. She might have I feel like she might have a phone. Everyone has a phone these days, right? Like, so it's like Corey plays Grand Theft Auto. She knows how to steal a car. That's a good point. I actually know all those things because of Grand Theft Auto. I feel like I could be a successful car thief because of Grand Theft Auto. I played many hours of that game. I also stole a F-15 fighter jet in that game at one point. There should be a Grand Theft Starfleet, and you get to go stealing Starfleet ships. You're a ragtag group of misfits stealing Starfleet ships. A lot to think about with the Borg Queen. I think that it just shows, no matter what you think of the season, there are some highlights, definitely, and I think the Borg Queen is definitely one of those. What are you going to say, Braxton?
I think that Corey isn't going to take off. I think that, so Q delivered her a magic bullet. Like, she's like right there in that like beachfront palace. I think that she just got pissed. She's going to like go and like take a walk on the beach, and then she's going to come back and she's going to like work on foiling the Borg Queen and Adam Soon's plans. I think that Corey is going to be the person who is going to stop Adam Soon some way.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the case as well. I think at the end of the day, I think that's the part. Q's like a Loki character, right? I have no idea. Does he want to stop Picard? Does he want the Confederation future? Like, that is the part that I'm not yet sure about. I think we'll find out. Marcel's giving me a disdainful look on this one, but I think we'll find out. I think we'll find out next week. I think it's going to all come to a head next week. Also, Fathery on Text Trek, shout out to the Text Trek crew, pointed out that he thinks we're going to get that big Q Picard scene that everyone's kind of waiting for. Like, the resolution to that is going to bleed into season 3 somehow. Because I think this is John Delancey. I think he kind of let slip that he's in season 3 as well. So we know that the Q story will not end in this season. I mean, he may still, as they discussed on Text Trek, some of the ideas were that maybe he does die this season, but like maybe we see like a Force ghost of Q in season 3, or like his after image, or again Q travels through time very easily. Maybe we see a different Q in season 3 that hasn't died yet, which is something Doctor Who plays around with a lot, which is like seeing a character in Doctor Who could die at the first episode, but then you could spend the rest of the season getting to know them because in the past they're still alive. So there's like time, when
Spoilers.
you get timey-wimey.
Spoilers.
I'm not saying who it is.
No, I'm on about.
Yeah, I know who you're. I know you
spoilers.
confirmed it. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Exactly.
Spoilers, sweetie.
Really quickly on the topic of Agent Wells, and one of the things I think the scene that I liked the most was this scene, you guys, like the one where Picard, Guinan kind of helps Jean-Luc realize that like maybe this is not a time to stay quiet, and like maybe this is a time to like just as Picard says, let's have an exchange of truths, right? And so he really gets Wells to open up. And, the way that Wells describes the mind meld, this was really profound to me because we see in the scene that the mind meld was not successful. We've seen in the past, like, Vulcans can mind meld with you, and hold on, sorry, just really quickly. Q shows up. Hello, sweetie. we've seen in the past, like, Vulcans doing all kinds of things with mind melds and stuff like that, but here we see the perspective of a human who doesn't know what any of that is, like, and who has been haunted by this experience for like many years. He definitely saw strangers, beings that seemed extraterrestrial, had weird equipment, and then he, as Wells describes it, the being shimmers off. Before that, he's trying to mind meld with him, and I'm imagining from like little kid human perspective, that mind meld must have been wild. Like that initial point of contact, like we have no idea as humans what it's like to connect telepathically and be of one mind with another being. And so that initial point of contact must have been occurring, and it must be like a little bit of a shock, and then all of a sudden he's beamed away. So all Wells remembers is this like kind of like traumatic experience. But I think it's such a beautiful scene when Wells is describing this very aggressive looking thing. From this scene you can see he's like grabs onto Jean-Luc's head the way you might grab onto like a pumpkin or a basketball or something like that. Not to say that Jean-Luc's head resembles a basketball or a pumpkin in any way, but he grabs onto him like on his forehead, really aggressive, lots of anger in his expressions and stuff like that. And then to me, it's just so beautiful and so very Star Trek that Jean-Luc is like, wait, was it more like this? And and then he tells him like what that was not a monster. It was a Vulcan, and he was trying to mind meld with you, probably to erase your memory of the experience, and it obviously failed. And then he's like, and that like kind of changes Wells. Like it rings true to him. Like he sees it, he remembers it a different way, perhaps, like, or he starts to remember it more like perhaps it actually was. And I get goosebumps just like talking about the scene. But like my favorite part is when he then says, "I'm from the future. I'm here to save the Earth, actually the galaxy, in fact, and I need your help." And they do the theme, the da da da, and like I was just like, that's Jean-Luc freaking Picard. He doesn't need a gun. He doesn't need to like, he doesn't need to like escape. He doesn't need to trick you. He just has the authoritative Jean-Luc presence where he can make you feel, as Daj says in season 1, safe around him and convince you that what he's doing is for the benefit of all, and he's really here to try to save everything. And so I know it's like not something that I heard some chatter or read some chatter about, like, why would Wells, like let them go and this and that and stuff like that. And I have to say that, like, I think I'd be convinced by Jean-Luc if you recalled something from my memory of past childhood. Like, to me, that's the sort of like credence, like the way that Jean-Luc kind of tuned into that, listened to what Wells was saying, like, and then gave him an explanation that seemed plausible. I think that's enough for me, for Wells to kind of like agree with him. So yeah, what do you what do you guys think?
I think
That scene was.
Sorry.
I was just going to agree that scene was actually wasn't like nicely played out scene. I think that was the best scene with Wells, was that bit, because he's obviously going like, he's saying, oh, he was grabbing my eyeballs and pushing my eyeballs out and all that stuff. But to have that epiphany, where obviously he says it, no, it's a mind meld. You could see the epiphany in Wells, and you're thinking, okay, yeah, you're right, because it was just that when he's done that bit to him, you can see that it's the memory is clearer, because like all of us, memory does cloud the further away from the event that you have. So I think that was well played. So yeah, that was a good bit. Sorry, Robbie.
I think when you don't have these kind of, I heard a lot. I saw a lot of criticism about Guinan being so different in her first episode this season. But I think when you explore characters in that way, like they've done with Agent Wells, it does feel very, and Rafi even being manipulative, it adds a dimension to the characters, and it does feel very without it, a show would feel a lot less like Star Trek, because they are not focusing on these issues, even if it isn't the main theme of the season. The examination of Picard's being unwilling to open, and his kind of his demons, as well as Rafi's trauma with Elnor, and Guinan just being fed up with the 21st century, is all when I'm laying out all these things, I'm thinking quite a lot has happened in this season alone that could have spanned for even longer, and the season just obviously hasn't had the time for it. But it's beautiful that it's all been incorporated in such a great way that feels so grounded and well handled. And it didn't necessarily make me emotional, but I think it was written very well. I will say that. Do you have any pictures of the Vulcans?
Yeah, let me pull them up. Hang on. Go on though. Oh, you want me to pull it up first? Hold
No,
on.
sorry.
All right, here we go. Okay, let's see. And Vulcans to the delivery on Vulcans.
I loved seeing those traditional style Vulcans and their traditional robes and kind of classic style makeup. And I almost wished after seeing that very brief kind of tease that we'd had more of a Vulcan Carbon Creek style episode. Like that would have been such an amazing episode, even if it was like harkening to the past. But I don't think you could have really done it in this season while it makes sense to the overall storyline, and it probably would have been a detour. But I just I get chills when I see Vulcans on a landing party, or just
You're such a Vulcanian, Ravi. I love it. Let's talk about Rafi's guilt for a second, because I definitely vibed with that, and I thought it was really profound. We had on our space, we had a couple of moments where folks were saying how Rafi, her particular guilt with the Seven says you manipulate. Everyone has to be exactly where Rafi wants them. You think we don't see it, but we all do. That was hard. That hit hard when it happened, and you could tell Seven felt a little bit bad about it. But then, what was harder about it, what was very heavy about that scene, is Rafi trying to not cry, basically, she's trying to stay composed and not because she knows it hit her, that's exactly, I think, what she needed to hear, in a way, even though it was cruel, or perhaps in a way it was actually kind of absolute candor, which she loved Elnor for doing, even though she would tease Elnor and say, oh, you gotta lower down that absolute candor. I think that's something that she appreciated about him, and so getting this truth kind of thrown at her unexpectedly. I thought Michelle Hurd and Jerry Ryan are beautiful scene partners, and that it just played out beautifully. But then again, what broke my heart was when she says, "I'm the reason Elnor stayed at the academy. I couldn't lose him too," referring to her son, I think. And then he stayed for me, and then he died in my arms, and it's just really heartbreaking. And I just thought I'd show Elnor here, who I love, and and I miss him. But I did appreciate the scene. There were a lot of cute moments. I like that Elnor is starting to play with humor, and he says, I didn't write that line down, but he says something very clever, and even Rafi points out oh, you're getting better at this. And it is sad that in the end that his last thing on his deathbed is he tells his first joke, basically, and it's a moment of jollity between them. But what do you guys think of the idea of I know we all don't think of Rafi as a bad person, but what do you guys think of the idea of had Elnor gone on a different path? We're doing all these road not taken things, right? But what do you think? Do you feel like Elnor belongs in Starfleet, or do you think he should have gone off and done the thing on Vashti with the Co-op Milat? Where do you guys land on that?
You know,
He
so
still would have
Elnor
been
is
Sorry, go ahead, Braxton.
Oh no, I was just gonna say that Eleanor is a warrior. Sometimes warriors don't live long lives. Whether he would be with the Quat Malat or with Starfleet. Like also if Eleanor had been on Earth, dude, there'd probably be more butterflies because Eleanor probably would have cut like 8 people's heads off by now. So like I mean, Elnor could be dead, whether he went back to the Quat Malat, or whether he was in Starfleet. Like Elnor's a warrior. You know, unfortunately, that's what warriors do sometimes is die.
I mean, I'm really happy. I was really happy in the beginning of the season personally to see him in Starfleet because I want everyone. I'm Starfleet boy, like I want everyone to be in Starfleet. So it's fitting. Ian, you were gonna say something about it.
Yeah, he would have ended up in Starfleet regardless. He was just taking a year out to go back.
He was taking his gap year.
He was taking his gap year. Yeah, he was taking a year out from his studies to explore the world and have a look round and become a more rounded individual. No, he was going to go back to the Quat Malat, and then because he did say he would come back. He just said he just felt that he needed that. But Rafi, being Rafi, wanted him there, and she played mind games, so he stayed.
Does anyone?
But yeah,
else...
so
sorry.
Go on. No. I was just going to repeat myself. So you're right, Robbie. Go for it.
I think ever since the season 3 teaser, I have felt a little frustrated because I have been more excited for season 3. And I feel bad about that because these are wonderful actors, and I feel like since if we hadn't had that teaser, we wouldn't be able to see where the characters are going. But now I get the feeling that I'm seeing why Rafi is going to potentially stay behind and why Rios is going to stay behind. If Rios is going to stay in the past, that seems like a good way to make sure the TNG cast get their due. And it seems like Rafi would just be happy to kind of either Elnor comes back and they've saved the timeline and she is happy to just stay with him on the Excelsior, and that's them kind of saying goodbye to Picard, or Elnor actually comes back and he decides he wants to go to the Quat Malat, and that's like his kind of everything
exit,
resolved,
like,
and Rafi maybe joins him or something. I don't know, but it is frustrating that we're saying goodbye to these characters after only 2 seasons, and it's not ideal for anyone because
it does feel like there's some goodbyes happening, right? Do you guys
Yeah.
all feel that too, right? Let's talk about Q. We're coming up to about an hour. We can go a little further than an hour. We usually go about an hour and a half. But if anyone needs to go, let me know in the private chat so I can kind of rush things along. But I don't want to finish this discussion without talking about Q, because I thought these were like John Delancey to me is like holding his own against everyone in this series. The character Q is someone I really love, and I just love. John Delancey is, as the expression goes, chewing the scenery, but in a really, a really great way. And he has some really great lines here. Like, I love that he, we do get a confrontation between Guinan and Q here. I don't think this is the last confrontation. I have a prediction that we will see Q and Guinan have another meeting when we get back to the future, and it'll be Whoopi Goldberg and Q. And my personal theory is we've always thought that like Whoopi's Guinan would be his foil and be able to kind of put him in his place. But I think she might actually heal him, and maybe he'll get his powers back or something like that. That's my prediction, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. She's going to have a lot of time to think about it, temporally speaking. She met Q here, and there'll be hundreds of years again until she meets Q again. So we'll see what happens. But some of his lines that I really enjoyed that I wanted to highlight. For the first time, as I look across the temporal horizon, it darkens. How like poetic and kind of like beautiful is that? And then he also says, what does he say? Enveloped in the warm glow of meaning. Like, I feel like I'll be using that a lot. He also says, I now have a lifetime. Can a single act redeem a lifetime? This is the second time he's brought up redemption, the idea of like redeeming. He was starting to bring it up to Jean-Luc in the Road Not Taken Confederation timeline, and Jean-Luc flat out rejected him then and was like, no matter what it is you're up to, I don't care, I'm not gonna participate. But Jean-Luc has now changed his mind. Now he wants to confront Q. Now he wants to like find out what Q was talking about, which is different. So I think that's a breakthrough moment. And then another cryptic thing he says, of course, is it's the escape that counts. And so, he's acknowledging, I guess, that Jean-Luc was maybe put into some kind of a trap, but like the escape was what was, important and stuff like that. And again, shout out to Ito Aguirre for being such a great, a great Guinan in this like first meeting between, technically their first meeting. Well, Guinan's first meeting with Q. Q remembers meeting her before. But speaking of that, like he makes her realize that humans are stuck in the past, as he says. And then that I love this. This is what Ian was talking about earlier, where he was trying to snap her out. But anyways, he was talking about, humans being stuck in the past, and that gets Guinan to realize that, like, like we talked about earlier. And I love that thing that she says. She says two things. One is, when something inside you is broken, it stays with you. This is about humans. You live in the past until you are able to reconcile it. You do the work because you want to evolve. I almost forgot how unique that is. Throughout Star Trek, I feel like Star Trek is constantly showing the uniqueness of humans. And I know that's very human-centric, but like you have to remember that like it's a show that's trying to uplift actual humans as well. And sometimes we need to realize how like, how unique, even among humans, every one of us are unique. Like we all share, our humanity, but we're also very unique, and we all have different approaches, as we've seen from this discussion and in the chats, even like, that people have like widely differing opinions. We're not a collective of Borg that are all the same, that's the thing about humans, is we do struggle. There is conflict. There is, it's slower to get things accomplished. But when we do, we really work things, we really do work things out, and we really do try to evolve, so to speak, into something better. And I like that little bit that she says there. You guys have any thoughts on that?
I do think that it's possible that one of the theories that I've had floating around in my head of Q saying that, he could never take back a certain act that he did. I want to sort of update that theory a little bit and say maybe he's the one that caused all of his... maybe he's the one that led to him losing his powers. And the way he did that is he destroyed the Q-time continuum. So that's why he's going mad, and that's why he needs other people to do what he wants. Where that's going to lead to, I don't know, but that might be a possibility.
Right on.
Also thought you said about Picard wanting to confront Q, but that's only after Guinan told him that he was dying. So there was that as well.
Well, he even suspected something, right? Didn't he, in episode 2?
Yeah.
Braxton, do you have any thoughts on that? Oh, are you laughing at the chat? Something in the chat or something? I thought you were like... Go ahead.
That, and then also, like, my cat just, like, tried to jump out of the window, but the window was closed. So if you heard, like, a noise, like, that was the noise. I was like... But, dude, like, I have really... loved new Guinan's performances. I thought that she has been so good, and then John DeLance is so good as well, I totally enjoyed seeing her, like project herself. Like, I like that they're giving the Elorians a little power. I thought that Q's speech about, he thought that like the ending of life was like this like exciting thing, like some kind of change, but it sucks.
He's just fading. Yeah, it sucks. It does.
Yeah,
it's true. It's true. It
Like,
does kind of suck. I mean,
yeah.
I think you can have like profundity within the suckness, but yeah, overall, sorry, Ravi, but aging is not as graceful as they
Hmm.
get evil.
And and people
I'm just
are,
kidding. He's our
and
youngest
people.
audience member, so I always often let him know like what it's going to be like in the future. I'm sorry I do that to you, Robbie.
It's gonna suck. So hold on.
No, it's going to be
And
great,
No,
Robbie. By the time you're our
it'll
age,
be
medical
fine. It'll be
advances, you're going to have
fine. It'll be
hypo
fine.
sprays. You'll have like
It'll
you'll
be
have
fine.
hypo
You'll be
sprays. You'll have like
fine.
vitamins in your nano vitamin inducers. You'll have Dr. Crusher. You'll have Dr. Flox. Like, it'll be a different story.
It'll be
Bones
fine.
McCoy.
I'm holding out. I think I have a good 30 years to go. And I'm holding out for like synthetic technology so that I can transfer, just like Jean-Luc, my hero. I want to transfer my consciousness, and then Robbie will try to hunt me down with a and destroy me because he's against synthetic life forms. And then we'll have a new Star Trek.
I'm against it. It's just that making a replica of someone doesn't feel right to me.
It's not a replica. It's a continuation. It's like it's like
It's a golem.
It's a golem, exactly.
There's a reason those golems failed. That's all I'm saying.
Dude, and people are totally stuck in the past. When that line was said, I thought of like how my father is always talking about the 70s, and like how my grandmother was like always talking about the 50s. Like people are stuck in the past, and like Robert, you're talking about season 3, dude. Like it's like young people are always thinking about the future, dude. Like I think like, damn, dude, like hopefully like World War III won't be on, and like the Russians won't destroy everything, and hopefully we'll get to actually see season 3. Like I'm not that
I
far
know.
ahead.
It's the past that's informing my love for my love for season 3. Even though it's not come around yet, though, because it's just nostalgia is a wonderful thing. And I was talking about I was on a podcast recently where we were talking about Discovery and how different it was at first, and I think it's quite beautiful that as we went along the Star Trek timeline from Discovery, it's become more familiar, and it's become more enjoyable to just relish in characters coming back, and TNG season 3 just will hopefully take the cake, and have a wonderful send off to those characters.
I won't spend too much time on Rios and Dr. Teresa because I think we've been talking about them a lot, especially last episode of Starfleet Boy. But I will just say that I'm pretty convinced now that Rios is going to stay in the past with Dr. Teresa. After she kissed him, just the look on his face in that scene, to me, said everything I need to know about Rios' mindset and where he's at, like emotionally and stuff like that. Do you guys have a different take, or what do you guys think is going on there? Just real quick.
I do like
on Rios.
I do like Robbie's theory that as we get to the final 2 episodes of Picard here, we might see them clear the board in Rios staying behind with Teresa and Rafi staying with Eleanor, whether that's on the Stargazer or whether that's at Starfleet Academy. I do think that's a valid possibility. Also, I do think that whatever is happening with Soji, I will always call her Soji.
That's so disrespectful. I'll remember that next time someone disrespects Jean-Luc. But go on, carry on calling her Soji.
So I do think. I do think wherever her storyline goes this season, I do think that she's going to be worked out, like Rios, Rafi, discount Legolas. I do think that they're going to be pushed aside.
Discount. He's not a discount. He's more Flash than Legolas. He's got like a better sword. He's got like phasers. He's like from the future. I think Legolas is discount Elnor.
Okay.
Sorry, just carry on.
Okay,
Sorry,
well,
go.
okay. So I do think that our supporting characters, except maybe for 7, are going to be carted off to whatever their next thing in life is that they're going to do, and that will make room for the TNG cast to come in, which is what we all really want, or at least that's what I want at this point.
I just hope that whatever their fates are, that like they were also they were all in such a good place in the beginning of the season. I would like it if none of the characters were left worse off than they are. So like it makes me happy that Rios might find a family that he cares about. It makes me happy that Elnor might come back to life and was never dead. It would make me happy if maybe Seven and Rafi stay together, whatever their fate is, whether they stay in the past or they go back to the future. I just like them all to have a nice, whatever their send off is. I would like it to be a nice send off. I think that I was probably one of the folks who fell in love with the Motley Crue early on, but I think definitely after season 1, I like their chemistry with Jean-Luc, and I want to see them, have a good turnout. But who knows? Modern television in general likes to subvert expectations, and sometimes by killing characters. And Star Trek Picard is not afraid to kill a character. So who knows what can happen?
Yeah, but dead in Star Trek never stay dead. They never stay dead in Star Trek.
True. They never do stay dead. It's true.
Well, the only one that's ever stayed dead is Jadzia Dax.
Oh, you had to say
She's
that.
still alive,
Really?
really.
Oh, don't go there, Ian. Come on. How you going to do a girl like that? Don't go there.
I think she's wonderful. I wish that she would come back, but obviously.
Jill's got another one. He was still dead. It's true. I know, that breaks my heart too. Like I can't tell you. I can't even talk about how I feel about Hugh. It's true. And many people are very upset about Icheb, of course, who I haven't really met. So yeah, there's like a lot of Picard likes to slaughter the legacy characters. We're about to see the death of Q, possibly. I mean, like we've seen Jean-Luc die. There's a lot of death. In Star Trek Picard. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying there is.
Hey, look. If I was writing a thing, which, I'm pretty sure, if I was writing a thing, I would do a red wedding, and I would slaughter all of them. So
the red alert. What have you called the red alert wedding?
Yeah, the red alert. Yeah. No, but I think, but what my problem is with the season Picard, and this is what it really is. I'm having a problem connecting with these characters that we've been following for 2 seasons now, and for me as a fan member, not as the other thing I am. For me as just for me as an audience member, I want to feel something for the characters that I watch on TV, from week to week, and I'm not feeling that with Rios. Well, Rafi, I feel something with Seven. She doesn't count because she's been around forever. She's my girl. So, but I think that the lack of me feeling any feelings for a large part of the crew is a big problem. I also take out Jean-Luc because he doesn't count either, because he's been around forever and he's Jean-Luc. So I think that's where I'm having my main problem, Once I get off my soapbox and once I'm conscious again and I have my brain back.
There's some good news for you. There's possibly a wedding invitation in season 3 from what we saw in that little teaser. So red alert wedding. Red alert, red alert wedding, Marcel. The first episode of Star Trek Picard season 3, they slaughter all the crew.
We said they were back. They're all dead.
They're all dead in the first episode.
Could you imagine that?
Elnor gets slaughtered after the wedding. It would be a great way to bring them back, though, if they're just coming to the wedding,
Be slaughtered.
No, not to be slaughtered. But just to come back for Picard's wedding.
Do you guys think we covered all the details and things in this episode that we wanted to talk about, or is there anything else before we sign ooff that you guys wanted to also, other than speculation about, and feel free
the
to
red alert wedding.
The red alert wedding.
Hashtag red alert wedding. There we go.
I feel like that's Marcelo, you gotta own that hashtag. You gotta totally. Any? Did you have final thoughts or anything, Marcelo? And feel free to give your ratings too.
Yeah, I just have one more add-on to say. before I give my rating for this episode, I do think that there is a way that this season could have been done that I would have been invested. I am just really frustrated that it didn't happen the way, or it didn't, or specific storylines didn't be given to us in another fashion, if that makes any sense. And my rating for this episode, with everything that I said, would have to be a 1.
Really?
Yep.
Wow, who'd like to go next?
I
Go ahead,
was
Ian.
I was just reply to what Marcelo was saying, but Star Trek does that time and time again, that you think you're going to get certain story arcs in an episode or anything, and then it just gets dropped. They've done it in TOS, they've done it in TNG. Well, they've done it time and time again.
The Star Trek Twitter account and the official website put up an interesting. I haven't finished reading the article, but an interesting article about all the plots that we never went back to, including the conspiracy in season 1 of the season 1 ending of. So all the like loose ends that are still hanging or dangling, and one of them was that. So yeah, you're right. There are a lot of things that we haven't seen. That Star Trek does that. It's true. You're right.
Well, I mean, we've explored it on TOS, haven't we? The amount of times in episodes that we've said, "Oh, that plot line," and it just stops, and you think. So I think that's where Star Trek does it. Sorry, Marcelo.
No, it's okay. I'm sorry. Just for clarification, my problem is with execution. Execution and what and the storylines that they are choosing to take us down. I think that there's a way to salvage those bits of those storylines and make them work in another kind of stew, in another kind of interesting way. So but I totally concede to what you guys are saying, that historically Star Trek has had storylines that we're introduced to one episode and then they're like, oh, let's forget about this and let's go down this road. But I do understand you guys, and I do acknowledge that, and I do hear that, but it just hasn't worked for me, unfortunately.
Ian, you want to give us some final thoughts and a rating?
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel that we had everything leading up to about episode 5, and we've just gone off on this complete tangent from it.
Cliff?
I did love the build up. We've done, yeah. I mean, but son of a gun. But yeah, no, we've. But there's still elements I am still enjoying. As I said, there are story arcs that I am enjoying. I'm not going to be as harsh as Marcelo. I'm going to give it a 7 for me.
Right on. How about yourself, Braxton?
Me and Ahsoka give this episode an 8.
Ooh, 2 8s.
Yeah. Ahsoka really enjoyed when the Borg Queen / Girardi was running across the cars.
Right.
We both felt a lot of tension when she was choking Rafi. So I like that Agnes was able to break through and take control for a second to show Rafi mercy. I really enjoyed seeing Guinan use her powers. I thought that the scene between Guinan and Q was powerful. I really enjoyed Patrick Stewart's acting. And yeah, I thought that this was a good, moving pieces episode. I did enjoy Soji and the magic bullet and her storming off. So that's going to be interesting to see how it resolves itself. I give this episode an 8. I don't think that this was a bad episode. I enjoyed a lot of the story that they told me this week.
Robbie, how do you feel about this episode?
I think this was, I really enjoyed this episode because I had heard some criticism on Twitter, and I was like, oh no, is this not going to be a great episode? And I was surprised, and I thought, wow, that's quite a good episode to me. Apart from the Soong stuff, which I just wasn't a fan of, but the rest was really, really good. I I think the only episode I've really just completely disliked is that heist episode. I thought was just a
You mean
horrible
the
episode.
caper? I keep correcting you and saying
The
the
caper.
caper, the caper, the
Oh
caper.
come on, that was awful. It wasn't even it wasn't a heist, you know.
What were
but-
they spraying Rios? You mean?
Yeah, no, when they
No,
when
I think he's talking
Jarati
about,
sang,
yeah.
and she was kind of struggling with the Borg Queen, trying to assimilate her.
When they were all at the ball, when they were all at the gala, rather, I should say.
But overall, this season has been really, really good fun to me. And it's just a shame for these actors. I think that they'll be, unless hopefully they have some kind of. I hope it's a small amount of time they have in season 3 because I really want to see these TNG characters. But I do think it's a shame for these actors. You know, a couple years ago they were signing on to Star Trek, which just had shows going on 7 seasons, and they're getting presumably 2 seasons, and that's it. You know, it's really unfortunate, especially since the show hasn't been cancelled like Enterprise was, and they got 4 seasons, and we're having to say goodbye to these characters who could go on for longer early, just to say goodbye to characters we've already said goodbye to. I'm not complaining about it. I'm really looking forward to it. But it's unfortunate, but also I'm looking forward to it. Conflicted.
I would say for me, I never felt like we said goodbye to those characters.
You would always say that though, because
those newer scientists. I still want to see those newer. Yes, and it's true. You're right. I do live in that past. I live in TNG. It's true. If I live in a past, it's definitely that one. Sorry, carry on.
And my last thing is, I think when Guinan was talking about people being in the past, she was talking about all the haters.
Oh yeah, someone said that. I think it was Michael or Cerulean Blue was saying that in the audience as well, that they were talking about that. But here's my little moment that I really loved, where she was like, "I almost can't wait to meet you," and he says in French, "NIU," and I thought that was like really really nice. Yeah. Yes. Thank you. So for me, I think for me, this episode, when I first watched it, I did feel a little bit of that, like, oh, okay, we were spending some time in Picard's psyche and getting to know more about his mother and his father, and then in this episode that was completely lacking or absent. Like, it's almost like, so I feel like, in some ways the episode was, again, like, also didn't meet necessarily my expectations, but unlike Marcelo, I was definitely not put off by it as much. I will give this episode a 10 because wow, dang. By the way, what was your rating, Robbie? I don't know if we got
it. Was an 8.
Oh, it was an 8. Okay. Wow, they're laughing at me. No, they're gonna laugh at you.
My word.
I'm getting I'm gonna remember this like years from now. I'll be giving a rating, and then I'll hear you guys laughing at me, and I'll choke. I won't be able to give the rating. I'll be like,
oh my word.
Okay. I'll just say, God bless you, man. God bless you. If you can enjoy Star Trek the way that you do, God bless you.
Well, again,
Marcelo, he's consistent. He is consistent.
But it's also a way. It's also my way to combat Marcelo's very low rating, because because I can't let that one bring the average down. I gotta go give a 10 to weigh it out. We're the anchors of this discussion. Marcelo's the anchor in one direction, and I'm the anchor in the other direction. So we're pulling against each other.
So we like that going, stop.
But I will say I did have a lot of fun talking about this with you, and I think
Oh.
you all made some really great points about it. And like audience, what a great conversation in the chats. I wish I could have been paying attention to more. You guys were having quite a lively chat. I saw Ruben in there quite active, which is a rarity. He usually pops in and he's
it was
like,
great seeing
he's
Ruben.
like hi and bye, and so it was nice to see him and everyone else who showed up. We appreciate it. I just hope guys keep it friendly. I don't think there was anything there, but I'm just saying keep it friendly, guys. Just always remember, like we like to have a very Federation like stance here on Starfleet Boys. So that's the only thing. Don't take anyone personally. It's just a show. We all have our opinions. Marcelo, I'm not going to be a Rafi. You don't have to come to Starfleet Academy. It's okay. You can stay there with your one. But guys, check out these wonderful folks, these wonderful guests that came on and gave us their time. You can go check out Braxton on his Twitter channel. Braxton, what are you doing these days? How can folks find you?
You can find me at Leviathan026 on Twitter. Yeah, look me up.
Follow
Say
Braxton.
hello.
Say hello, yes. You can follow Robbie on Earl Grey Trekkie on Twitter as well as on YouTube. And Robbie is intermittently putting out video essays. They've been a lot of fun. I hope you do more of those. He's got a job now, so he's got some other commitments. So I don't know what frequency. But Robbie, why don't you tell folks how to find you and what you're doing these days?
You can find me on Twitter through Earl Grey Trekkie. You can find me on YouTube through the same name. You can find me. Well, you can find my Star Trek Facebook group. It's just called Trek Talk, and it's just a lot of Trek movie links and stuff like that, and trailers for upcoming Star Trek. Yeah.
Excellent. Marcelo, tell us what's going on, and would you mind telling folks what's happening next?
I'll get to that.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll get to it. If you guys want to find me, I have two podcasts. One of them is called Radio 815, which is a podcast dedicated to examining the work of writer-director J.J. Abrams, as well as his greater Bad Robot universe. New episodes of that very podcast get released all year round, every Friday at 8:15 Eastern Standard Time. I also have my personal podcast, the Red Wall Podcast, that is actually its fourth season is actually airing right now, and that drops on Wednesdays at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But if you guys listen to that, I just want to warn you that show is extremely personal to me. So if you listen to that, you might get a better insight about who I am as a person when I'm not interviewing someone or talking about Star Trek. I also have a YouTube channel where every Friday I've been doing reviews of TOS, the original Star Trek series. But I often am a guest or a permanent member at this point of a little YouTube show, late Friday nights called Starfleet Boy After Dark, and I'm very honored to let you guys know that this coming Friday we're going to be celebrating my birthday, and the way that we're going to be doing that is by doing a watch along of my second favorite Star Trek movie of all time, Star Trek 2009. So if you like the Kelvin universe like I do, I would highly recommend for you to come and watch us live, or for you to come and watch us on the replay. But thank you for having me, even with my Madman on a Box today. I really appreciate that. Thanks, guys.
Nice Doctor Who reference. Speaking of Doctor Who references, I just want to give a shout out to Philip Hawkins. Go check out his channel on YouTube. He also does some cool stuff with Red Dwarf. He's just a cool guy in general. Philip, sorry you're coming in at the ending, but I appreciate you hopping in. We got to get you on the show, man. Anyways, just shouting it out there.
Forgot one thing.
Yes.
The home base for everything I do, and where you can find links to all the stuff that I do, is on Twitter. I'm at CreekFanatic88, so that's my handle. So.
Excellent. So yeah, go check out Marcelo, and then hold on, I have something special here real quick. Sorry, I did it twice by accident. Ian, tell folks where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Everything is Dadmiral UK. You can see tweets about my hair on Twitter. Thanks, Braxton.
Now you're moving on from you're moving on from Admiral Vance to like a Pike style now. I like
sort
it.
of a Pike style, but yeah, you never know. Even the beard might come off for one bit. So, as you know, for my cosplay. But yeah, no, on Twitter, Instagram, I've actually got back building. This weekend I've done a build. I've been editing. And it's here.
Very nice. Oh, look at that. It's Disco Future. It's Disco Refit. Yeah.
Disco Refit.
By the way, you were getting compliments on your Enterprise in the chat earlier, too.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I saw that. So, yeah, we've got the Disco Refit. So, and actually, I will talk because that's designed by somebody called Chris, who's from Mini Trackbox, and I've made a couple of additions to it, just slight changes. I've spoken to him, so he could be changing his design from the bits that I've done, and I've got a few more. So there's going to be both the Stargazers, the one from TNG and from Picard, coming up soon. I've got the review for the Blue Bricks Enterprise A, so that's all going to be happening on my channel. And my last memories from the cruise as well, where I'll be re-putting up for the museum that was out on the cruise, which was very similar to what you got at Chicago. Obviously, Chicago had a lot more, but there was lots of elements that are in both.
Yeah, I saw that. You guys saw those uniforms too. Yeah, exactly. So very cool.
So it was actually quite funny because I saw a bit about it. They said, and that at Mission Chicago we found the dates of when Strange New World is, and I went there and I looked through my photographs. I went, actually, we found out on the cruise, but everybody missed it. But yeah. That's what it is. But yeah, no, so a few things that are up and coming for me.
Right on. Very cool. So we look forward to seeing that on Dadmiral_UK on Twitter and on YouTube as well. Very, very cool. And you can also catch Ian. So we do a few Star Trek discussions here on Starfleet Boy. We do Thursday Twitter Spaces. We call it the Picard Space. Thanks for encouraging me to name it that, Dadmiral. It's been received very well. So tune in. And so I guess the Strange New Worlds one will be called the Strange New Space, maybe? Like we could call it that or something like that. I'm not sure. But
the Strange Space, right?
Or the strange. Well, I want to call it like the Strange New Space, so that it's like more
space New Worlds.
Space the Final Frontier, Spaces or something like that.
Space New Worlds, yeah.
But Twitter Spaces is really interesting because it's only available on Twitter. You can come in and tune in from your desktop computer or your mobile device. But if you want to come on stage with us and talk, it's a lot of fun. We get a lot of different perspectives, just like here, but also, unlike here, we have a chat on there. You can just pop onto stage and say your bit if you want to, and so on and so forth. So tune into that. That's at 9 p.m. Eastern. Sorry, you guys are asleep in the UK, but you can listen to the replay because it does stay on for 30 days. But yeah, that's at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the day the new Star Trek episodes drop. It's sort of meant to be more of a reaction type of stream or conversation. And then Fridays, we kick it off with Marcelo. He's a little behind, but he does a TOS review for TQIF. And that drops sometime in the day right before Text Trek, which comes on at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern, where you get the quickest and deepest dive. Not quickest, sorry, the quickest two. It's the first discussion that goes deep among the YouTubers that I've seen. So yeah, go check that out. Then afterwards, we do Starfleet Boy After Dark, and as Marcelo already pointed out, we're doing his awesome birthday episode this week with Star Trek 2009. And then, no, of course, anything for you, Marcelo, except for your awful ratings. But other than that, other than that, I'm all for it.
But you just have to accept my interest, my eccentricity. Man.
Just be prepared. Someone might be giving Star Trek 2009 and what. I know you're okay with that.
That's okay. Okay, I'll be there.
But then Saturdays, we didn't do it this Saturday, but we usually do a TOS discussion at 3 p.m. Eastern. This week we were supposed to do, so we're doing it next weekend. Let that be your last battlefield, an iconic episode of Star Trek that I think everyone knows. Wow, something's going on. Sorry about the noises. And then Sundays, we're back here again to do our Picard discussion at 2 p.m. Eastern. So check us out. We start the loop again. We start the journey again starting on Monday. So everyone, will see you next week. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, audience. Live long and prosper. And we'll see you next time.